What's useOptimistic? It's one of React 19's new hooks that once again makes working with forms easier. When you're submitting a form, you're usually making some sort of asynchronous call. You're running an API that's doing some processing to your data, uploading it to a database, and then returning the data that's just been uploaded to the database, the response of the API, back to the front end. What useOptimistic allows you to do is to display something, usually what you want the data to be inserted into your database to be. You can display that to your front end straight away. This is especially useful when you need that sort of instantaneous feedback. So if it's like a chat application, like WhatsApp, for example, when you send a message, you want to see that message pop up straight away in a chat window. You don't have to wait for that sort of like 1 second or so of data processing and API request and response. You don't have to wait for all of that to happen before you see the message. Talking about WhatsApp, also makes it really easy to do the whole 1 tick for sent and then 2 ticks for delivered. So you can basically tell your users that it hasn't sent yet, it's in the process of sending, but hasn't actually successfully done it yet. And then once it has successfully come back from the database, you've uploaded it to the database, you've got your API response, then you can say, we're all good.
User tried and tested, import, create, react, up. I have to write out useOptimistic again, aren't I? Optimistic, YC, dash template, TypeScript. Let's cd into our package, useOptimistic dash YC, that's what we called it, lovely name. Code ./r to open that up. Now, if you have a package lock instead of a yarn lock, you want to go ahead and delete the package lock and run a yarn. If you don't have yarn installed, you'll get an error. You just want to do an npm i-g yarn. That should sort you out. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to get the application React 19 ready. If React 19 has been stably released, you don't need to do anything. So if you already see React 19 here, perfecto. So we're actually going to do a yarn add React. That's actually site. I've already got it here. Look at that. React RC. I'll still type out to make it easier to follow along. Because we're using TypeScript, we need to update these packages so they're compatible with React 19 RC. We can go ahead and type out npm. This is the React one, so you want React 19 RC. I think that's right. npm react/dom RC. Just gonna double check that. Sorry, don't listen to me. I'm wrong. We want to do npm types-react, then types-react DOM @rc. There we go. Now we've done that, we've got to add some overrides. I'm going to go to the bottom of our package JSON. I'm going to hide that actually, so we don't need it. Might as well hide that as well. Overrides. And then here, we want to just type in the same thing that we typed above. So it's going to be for our 2 type packages at types dash react. Did I spell types wrong? Yeah. At types react, we want npm types react rc types dash react dom npm types react dom @rc. Just check if it builds. So we'll do a yarn. Right, actually made a mistake. I know, terrible. Don't need 19 here. This needs to be npm types dash react @rc. Right, should be okay now. Check if it builds. Success, it built. Right, so we're going to do a yarn start just to start the development server, and then I'm going to create a new folder called components, and we're going to create a file in components called messenger container.tsx. And just to check that this is working, I like to use this snippet, by the way, RFC. Look at that. Just check that we actually have React 19 installed properly. Going to do a use optimize. Oh, There it is. It's done it. Just double check that it actually runs. Let me go to Chrome. Hey. I know we just opened up a messenger container. We just created this beautiful component. But we're actually going to go back to the app.tsx. Because before we get started on all that, just want to rip out all this stuff really. Give ourselves a blank canvas to work with. So I'm going to take out the header. Controversial. I'm going to have a H1 title. Let's call it useOptimistic example. I can say anything really, because that's not what's important here. Just going to remove logo so I don't get that yellow squiggly line. Yes, actually import our messenger container. Right, then if we take a look, there we go, blank canvas. We're going to go back into messenger container. Let's just make a basic form. I think that's fine to do to start with. So let's get rid of the React templates sort of default placeholder title. We're going to have some fragments here. So we'd actually need it to be a div and form. Right, that's a good place to start. In that form, we're going to have an input. Okay, and that's going to be type text. Don't really need to add that as an example, but it's a good habit to have to add the type. Name, that's going to be message. So this is going to be like a instant messenger app example. I think that's the best way to sort of show off where useOptimistic is really useful. And let's give it a placeholder of message ... Now, in order for this to work as well, we want to be able to submit the form. And we'll have the button, type, submit, and what's that going to say? Send. Right, let's take a look and see what that has done to our application. Look away now, front-end developers. It's going to be ugly. Ooh. Anyhow, we're not going to bother making it pretty, because that is not what this is all about. We're here to learn about useOptimistic. And to do that, we can go back to our app, and we're going to actually add some state. So this is going to be our messages. So these are going to be the messages that have already been sent, and that we're also going to add to. So it's going to be a use state. So we have not use. We want to say set messages. Use state. All right. I'll split some default messages, I suppose. It's going to be an array of messages. We're going to have a text, which is going to say hello. Going to have a sending boolean as well, which will be false, because this is going to be one that's already been sent previously in this sort of example. And yeah, that's everything. I'm just going to make a type for this. It's always good to do, using TypeScript after all. So let's create a types folder. Just going to type.ts. Why not? Export interface iMessage. I'm just going to have, what do we call it? Is it text? Text. I'm just going to have text. That's required. That's a string. We're also going to have sent. It's going to be a boolean. Oh, it was sending actually, wasn't it? Well, we do want sent as well though, so we can do something cool with that. Let's maybe do our two sort of ticks, WhatsApp style. So sending, that's going to be a boolean. It's all going to be required. We need text, but we don't need those other two really. We have our form. We have some state. We don't actually have a way to update that state at the moment. And what we're going to do now, because we're following these React 19 patterns, is we're going to use an action. Probably make that plural, shouldn't I? Actions. So we're going to make an action folder. We're going to have actions.ts. So we are using TypeScript, by the way. And let's see. So this is going to be our sort of mock API call. This is when we would be in a real application, calling an API and uploading some data to the database. So we are going to fake it as we're going to have an asynchronous function. Well, didn't mean to do that, but it works. It's going to be called deliver message params. going to have a message as a param. That's going to be of type string. What do we want to do? So we want to fake an API call. So I'm going to do a promise, because using the await keyword in an async function means that it's going to cause our function to wait for this promise to be resolved, which we can sort of use to replicate the time it takes for an API call to finish. So res set timeout, I'm going to pass in response, and let's give it 1.5 seconds. Why not? I want it to be somewhat realistic. And okay, that's our action for submitting the data to our database. At least that's what it would be in a real app. And we're going to create another function here, and it's going to be in our app.tsx. Trying to think of a great name for it. So let's call it async function send message. So that is what we're doing after all. That's going to take in form data from our form. I'm just going to have a type of form data. We want to actually get the message that was sent from our fake API call. So that's going to call deliver message from our actions. We're going to pass in the message, remember, so that's going to be form data.get message. Oh, Aiden, how do you know to call it message? Well, first I'll sort out this TypeScript. Yeah, sort out the TypeScript stuff first. Right, how do I know to call it message? I know to call it message because here we gave our input the name of message. So when we have our action hooked up to this button, to this form, that is actually going to store the state of whatever's in message, whatever's in this input, that will be stored in this message. Yeah, we can extract it this way, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. I almost forgot a very important TypeScript thing. Give that a type iMessage. I was not happy now. Oh, yeah, sorry. It's an array of iMessage. That's why I wasn't happy. All right. Okay. So we have our function sending a message. This is sending the data to our fake API. So this will be sending it to our database. And now we want to actually update the state. So we're going to take the rev messages. That's just the previous state. Want to spread those here. We don't want to lose that state, so keep that there. And then text is going to be sent message. We'll set sending to false, yep. And we want to set sent to true. Okay, I think that's it for our function. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go into messenger container. I'm actually going to write an interface for this. iMessenger container. Tend to start interfaces with the capital I. It's just a little naming convention I like to do. Don't know if that's a standard thing or not. Messages. It's going to take in that array, the state, the messenger state, which is iMessage, an array of them, and it's also going to take in that function. So send message, which takes in form data as a parameter, which is the type of form data, and that actually returns a promise of void. And let's get those props as well. So we'll get messages, we'll get send message. Doesn't know about our types because we haven't hooked up our interface. So we'll go down here, iMessenger container. Right, and then we go to here. Oh, we've got red squiggly because we aren't passing down messages. Messages, or send message, it's going to be send message. Cool. You might be thinking, what are you doing, Aiden? It's about useOptimistic. You haven't even imported useOptimistic yet. And I'm not going to right now, because I'm going to do one more thing first. I'm going to grab the form ref. So it's going to be const form ref equal use ref. Give it a default type of null. What am I doing? in the wrong file. Ignore what I just said. Right, go into messenger container. Nice copies that. So we're going to use ref. We're going to hook that up to the form. So that's going to have ref, form, ref. Lovely. Time has come. We're going to do the useOptimistic now. When I say that, I just mean we're going to create some constants. So useOptimistic, that gives us the state that we want to show on the front end while we're doing our sort of asynchronous functions. That's going to be optimistic messages, we're going to call it, because it's the optimistic messenger state. I also get an add function as well. We're going to call add optimistic message. And this is what we use to update our optimistic messages with the desired state. Right, and those all come from useOptimistic. useOptimistic takes in our state, so that's going to be messages, and then we also need to pass a function. This function takes in two parameters, so our state, which is going to be iMessage. I probably don't need to be as explicit as I am with the types, but I can never be too explicit. Who am I kidding? And a new message as well, which is going to be of type string. Right, and that is going to read. This is what we want to update our state with when we hit the submit button on our form. Right, so we want to spread out the state, so we don't want to lose our previous state. We want that to be showing up still. And then we also want to create a new message object. So that's going to have text. That's going to be the new message. And then we also want to have sending through. So, that's what's going to allow us to do something cool, which I'll show you later. But our form is not going to actually do much when we hit submit yet. We need to add a form action. So let's create a function, an asynchronous function called form action. And that's going to take in our form data, which is going to be a type form data. All right, okay. Now this is where we will call our add optimistic message, and we'll pass in the form data. We'll get, that's going to be message as string. It's like I've spelled optimistic wrong. I told you it's a hard word to spell, optimistic. Right, okay. So that's handling the optimistic state. Great, we want that. However, we also need to do, well, we don't need to do this, but it's good practice to reset our form to clear out the message that they just typed in after they press send. So form ref.current.reset. What's going on here? Form ref is possibly null. That's true. So if form ref.current exists, we'll do that. And it's also not happy because it doesn't know what form ref is. Yeah. Let's add a one of these. It's going to be of type. The best way to find out is to just do a hover here. That's going to be a type HTML form element. Of course, all makes sense now. There we go. We got rid of those TypeScript issues. We're also going to await the function that we get in. So that's set message, the one that we're passing down from app.csx, this one here. What does that take in again? That takes in form data. Right, let's send our form data. Let's get it hooked up. So form action. This is going to be our form action. So this means when we hit submit, that will then fire off this chain of events that will cause our state to be updated, our API, our action to fire, and our optimistic state to update, of course, and show us that beautiful, beautiful optimistic data. Of course, it's not actually going to do that because we're not using that optimistic data yet. Let's add that in. So optimistic messages, that is an array of our iMessage. If you remember our lovely type, that's our array of that. So we're going to map through that, optimistic messages dot map, and that's going to take a message, iMessage, and we'll get an index, which is going to be a type number. We'll use that for the key. So we'll have div. I spelled optimistic wrong. Keep spelling optimistic wrong. That is why we have spell checkers. Yeah. Okay, so it's key. We'll give that the index as the key. We actually want to display our messages, so let's display message dot text. Okay, cool. Right, let's just make sure that's working. We'll head on over to Chrome. I think see hello. What's up? Oh, perfect. Right, that's just showing us what's up straight away. However, remember, our API has got that use timeout. We're awaiting that promise. We had no indication of what was going on behind the scenes there, of what was going, like that the message was sending. That hadn't actually been sent yet, it was sending. So that's what we're going to use Optimistic to help us out with. Given the user feedback that we're sending a message, we'll do this. Now remember, we've got our sending state. We're going to use that to our advantage. And we're going to check if message, not message, where's the M? Okay, we're going to check if message.sending is true. Is that a thing? If it is, we'll do this. Sending, and remember here, once it comes back from our fake API, we set sending to false, and that is how we will manage this bit of state here. So we set it's true when we first call this, you add optimistic function and use optimistic, add optimistic. We'll fire this function here and set that to true, and then we fire this send message, which comes from app.tsh, send message, which does this API request. In a real app it would be. It does this promise, and then when that promise comes back, sent message, we update the state and set sending to false. So see that in action. We go on over to Chrome. We go, hi mate. Sending's disappeared. Well, that is the gist of using Optimistic, of using useOptimistic. However, we can take it one step further, and that is why I added this send property as well to our iMessage. So what I'm going to do is we're actually going to add a package. I'm going to add React icons. We've got React icons installed. We're going to go over to Chrome and let's actually go on to React icons. Just hit that into Google and the docs should come up. Look for check double. Got some choice here. Let's choose this one. So I want to grab that import statement. That's got a nice button for us. Cool. Go back onto our app. And we don't just want a double check, we also want a single, so that's BI. We want the same library, just so it's all the same style. So that's my thinking. And let's grab that as well. Close down the terminal, we don't need that open. Not close it, but you know what I mean, like hide it. I'm going to hide the terminal. So if it's sending, we actually want to show BI check. Oh, why is that not? The curlies, yeah. Didn't need all those curlies. Right, so if it's sending, we're going to show check. And then if the message is message.send, we're going to show BI check double. Okay. So we've gone back here, we can already see we've got our double checks as that message has indeed been sent. And let's do another one. Well, it's got one tick. Oh, and then 2 ticks sent. Well, I don't like how those ticks just sort of linger. That's not very WhatsApp-like, is it now? Let's update that. So let's just jump back into the code. We can actually use the index and optimistic messages.length to check if it's the last message. And if it's the last message, then we can display our ticks. So we don't want to tick next to every single message that we've sent now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold down Alt and click here as well. So I've got it selected in both places because I'm going to be adding the same code. Can't be bothered to repeat myself. So IDX equals optimistic messages. Oh, I hope I haven't spelled that wrong again. Dot length -1 because indexing is 0, starts at 0, whereas length doesn't, starts at 1. So we need some -1 at the end there. We're going to save that and let's check it out. Okay, so go to Chrome, open that up. It's just on the last message, that's good. Looks like it's working. Testing. Is there just a single tick? Oh, yeah. So it's got rid of the double ticks there. Oh, yeah, look at that. It's just showing up once. That is working great. Great. Well, I'm happy with that. Now, that's an example of how to use useOptimistic in React 19. I've made a few other videos about the other new React hooks and stuff. I'll put them in the same playlist so they're easy to find. Thanks for watching.